It's a gorgeous summer morning, 24 degrees, headed for 27. Where have we heard that before? Well, this summer we haven't heard that very much. Ross Davies with you on a Tributary Tuesday, why not? So today, off we go to explore Cottonwood Creek, which is a pretty complex little system. It's got several different headwaters. Today we're going to concentrate on the two main ones. We'll refer to them as the East Branch and the West Branch. All of that originates up around here, North Cottonwood Park. We go much farther, we cross over the watershed boundary into the Alouette watershed. So it's got a good groundwater source from several different places all working together. As we look at a red osier dogwood, there's the flowers, the deer love them. So let's saddle up and check out Cottonwood Creek. So it's not far downstream from Dudney Trunk Road that the ravine really starts to make itself known. Quite a prominent riparian zone here, and this would be the East Branch of Cottonwood, of course, and we're about 300 meters downstream. And looking across, it's bordered by private property on each side, but the riparian strip is nice and wide, and there's quite a temperature difference just even standing at the top of the bank here. So we'll take a little wander downstream past Alexander Robinson School. That'll be our next stop. I'll back with you on 118th Avenue, and that's the horn of Cottonwood Creek, celebrating all the life it brings to the world. We're looking at the East Branch. We'll pan around this way, and we're going to head down to that culvert, or not a culvert. Well, I guess it is. It's a bridge there, 118th in a moment. But back to this, way at the back there, about 20 years ago, we determined there used to be some kind of old junkyard or something back there. And it was one of these piles of old car parts and household, you name it, where you don't even know where to begin. So it's been in there so long that it would probably do more damage to haul it out than it would be just to leave it alone. So either way, probably 4,000 years from now or something like that, some ETs will land from Altair 4 and conclude there was some kind of ancient primitive civilization that used to live here. Here we are at the 118th Creek crossing, just to give you a sense of where we are. Cottonwood Creek, Tuesday morning. Houston, we have a blackberry problem, which is true as we've seen before along much of these urban tributaries. But we do have a pretty good canopy here, and just a little bit of fish presence trivia. We have documented juvenile coho salmon to this point, which means they're going at least this far. Not necessarily adults. Quite often what will happen is, although adults can make it up here, the juveniles will migrate upstream after they emerge in spring, March, April, May. And that's an instinct thing to get as far upstream as possible so you're less likely to get blown out in a flood. Because as we know, coho salmon will stay in the creek for 1 year, sometimes 2 if they don't grow quickly enough. So we're probably a third of the way down the East Branch. Let's take a look at the start of the West Branch. So we're just on the side of 236th Street, just south of Dudney Trunk Road. We're pretty close to the headwaters of the west tributary to Cottonwood Creek, and there's the ravine right there. And as always, you can encounter a bear anywhere in these neighborhoods. There was one a couple weeks ago that I saw right where I'm standing right now. So anywhere, anytime is bear time. And these tributaries are impacted by curbs, gutters, and storm drains. And we all know the drill there: road runoff, yard fertilizer, pesticides, you name it. So be careful what goes down those drains. So here we are a little farther down 236. We're on this trail in the bush out in the middle of nowhere in the riparian zone of Cottonwood Creek. But then you come around the corner and get a load of this. So at some point, I guess the grand plan was to have a big road going through here, and then it never happened. So let's take a look over here. We'll get our first look down towards the creek itself. Pretty good flow for today being the 14th of July, this very strange year of 2020, and we won't go there. And here we have a nice log jam. And there's a bit of a can of worms. A lot of people would say, gee whiz, Ross, pull that out of there, it's going to block the fish. It's not true. It won't do that. The fish are amazing. If the water can get through, the fish can as well. Adult coho that try to ascend up here, and there's some decent spawning gravel down there, they'll pick their time and wait for a high flow and go right over top of that thing. So they're pretty amazing. That actually is really good habitat, good cover. So we're going to just leave it right where it is. We have some cedar. There's a butternut tree of all things. I don't know how that got here. So a really nice riparian zone comes in handy on these hot days of summer. before we take off out of here, we'll take a look at the upstream side too, since we're here anyway. And most of these streams that have a pool riffle type of regime, which tends to repeat itself 1 to 1, you're going to be looking at a slope of about 1%, and that's really good for coho salmon and the resident cutthroat that you're going to find in here as well. Alright, so we'll head down a little farther because these two branches are about to join into one. So we're on Cottonwood Drive, and this follows the creek, the west side of the riparian, down quite a ways. You can see another access down there a little ways. So it's a good access all the way along here. Got housing on the far side over there, creek over here, as we continue ever downstream towards the mouth. Did I mention that we're in bear country? So many times it gets dragged through an opening like this over to here so our friend can carry on his unholy activities. Do you all know what this is? It's the old Cottonwood Landfill. About 1 million years ago, everything that's going to the transfer station now used to come here, and it's gone into a bit of an alder forest. So that's the way we used to do things, believe it or not, way back when. Back in the 80s, I guess it was. Ross back with you. We've gone downstream a fair ways. We're about 80% our way down to the mouth. The creek, the two tributaries have now become one, obviously. And what's interesting about this stretch here, a couple of things. We got a bear below us right now as we speak, so we're going to be out of here pretty fast. But around 2008, there was an unstable bank. The water system up the hill changed, and the whole thing kind of went kersplat. So we came in there with a technique called willow wattles. You stake in big willow stakes, put smaller ones crossways, and away it goes. And we planted some other stuff as well. And here we are 12 years after the fact, and it did so well, I can't even tell for sure where it was. So Mother Nature did the rest. So here we are at Cottonwood Creek, and we're proceeding down. So we're almost at the end of our adventure for this Tuesday, but first things first, as it gets down towards Kanaka Way, Cottonwood Creek becomes this pond, actually small lake, and it extends quite a ways back. Here you got, I think, the Edge Peak in the distance, and there's somebody fishing back there. I don't know if you can make him out, Mr. Great Blue Heron. And you get a lot of different waterfowl in this pond. It's not uncommon to find wood ducks and mergansers in here as well. So this type of off-channel habitat is something that the Kanaka Creek watershed is really short of. And as we all know, coho salmon juveniles in particular really like it. So it's a good overwintering habitat. In the summer, not quite so much. It gets to be pretty warm in here. We have recorded invasives like sunfish, pumpkin seeds, and whatnot. Fortunately, they can't penetrate too far upstream. They're not a huge deal. But what's unique about this, it actually has a fishway. There's an overflow right there, which has got a football field on it at the moment. Now, the fishway is mostly underwater. It's over there. It's submerged because of the height of the Fraser freshet, which is making this whole system tidal right now. So we'll have to come back here at some point, maybe in the fall, and show you the thing in action. We are at the mouth. Cottonwood Creek comes into Kanaka Creek right there as we take a look down Kanaka towards Riverfront and, of course, the Fraser. So Ross Davies wrapping things up on this Tuesday from Cottonwood Creek.